I'm staring at 24 months of bank statements spread across my kitchen table, and my hands won't stop shaking. 24 transfers, $48,000, gone. And the signature authorizing every single one? My mother-in-law's perfect cursive next to my husband's name. But here's the part that makes my stomach turn. The account receiving the money belongs to Chelsea, his ex-girlfriend, the woman who showed up at our wedding rehearsal dinner drunk, screaming that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. I'm going to tell you exactly how I discovered this betrayal and what I did when I realized the two people I trusted most had been lying to my face for 2 years. Let me take you back to how this all started. I met David 5 years ago at a hospital charity gala. He was a pediatric surgeon, funny, kind, and completely devoted to his mother, Patricia, after his father passed away. Patricia seemed like a dream mother-in-law at first. She called me daughter before we were even engaged, helped plan our wedding, even insisted we open a joint account with her for family emergencies and future grandchildren. She said it was what she'd done with David's father, a family tradition. I thought it was sweet. Old-fashioned, maybe, but sweet. David had been honest about Chelsea from the beginning. They dated for 3 years, broke up 6 months before we met. He said she'd struggled with addiction, that the relationship had become toxic, but he still felt guilty about how it ended. I respected that he cared about her well-being. That's the kind of man I thought I married, someone with a good heart. The account was supposed to be for emergencies, house repairs, medical bills, maybe fertility treatments down the road. I contributed my half of everything. I'm a school administrator, I make decent money, and I trusted them completely. Why wouldn't I? This was my family. But about a year ago, things started feeling off. I'd mentioned wanting to save for a down payment on a bigger house, and Patricia would get this tight smile, change the subject. David started working longer hours, came home exhausted, barely wanted to talk about finances. When I'd ask about the joint account, he'd say, "Mom handles all that, honey. Don't worry about it." I ignored every single red flag because I didn't want to be that wife, the one who doesn't trust her husband, the one who thinks her mother-in-law is manipulative. I lectured myself about being paranoid, ungrateful. Then 3 weeks ago, I got pregnant. We'd been trying for 8 months, and I was so happy I could barely breathe. I wanted to do something special, surprise David with a weekend trip to the mountains where we got engaged, use money from our joint account to book this beautiful cabin. That's when I decided to check the account balance myself for the first time in 2 years. $23,000. We should have had close to $90,000 saved. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot, staring at my phone, my vision blurring. I clicked through transaction history with numb fingers, and that's when I saw them. The transfers. $2,000. Every single month. To an account labeled C. Morrison. Chelsea Morrison. I knew her last name because I'd had to listen to Patricia talk about poor Chelsea at family dinners. How she was struggling. How David's leaving had destroyed her. How someone should help her get back on her feet. I'd even felt sorry for her. I drove home and I didn't say a word to David when he got in that night. I kissed his cheek, made dinner, smiled. Then I waited until he fell asleep, and I spent 6 hours going through every document, every email, every text message I could access. Stay with me, because what I found next is the part that still keeps me up at night. Patricia and Chelsea had been in contact the entire time. Weekly phone calls, lunch dates. There were text messages between David and his mother about Chelsea's rent and Chelsea's car payment, and just until she gets stable. He knew. He knew everything. And here's the truly sick part. Patricia had convinced him this was his responsibility. That because he'd broken Chelsea's heart, because she'd spiraled after the breakup, he owed her this. That taking money from an account with my name on it, money I'd worked for, wasn't really stealing because we're all family, and family takes care of each other. I found emails from Patricia to David with subject lines like, C's therapy bills, and helping C with groceries. $48,000 in therapy bills and groceries. For a woman who, according to her very public Instagram account, was taking luxury trips to Miami, getting regular Botox, and just bought a BMW. I sat on my bathroom floor at 4 in the morning, 7 weeks pregnant, and cried until I thought I'd vomit. This wasn't just about money. They'd made me feel crazy for wanting financial transparency in my own marriage. They'd made me feel selfish for wanting to save for our future, for our baby, while they funneled my income to his ex-girlfriend. The low point was calling my sister at dawn, barely able to speak. She drove over immediately, held me while I sobbed, and said something I'll never forget. "You know what you have to do. And you know they're banking on you being too nice, loud, too scared, too pregnant to do it." She was right. They'd counted on my silence, on my fear of rocking the boat, of being the villain who didn't understand family loyalty. So I made a plan. First, I took screenshots of everything, every transfer, every text message, every email. I documented 2 years of theft, because that's what it was, theft. Then I called a lawyer, a really good one. I filed for divorce and opened a police report for financial fraud in the same week. In our state, stealing from a joint account holder is a crime, especially without consent or disclosure. Patricia's name was on those transfers. She'd forged my authorization on file with the bank. Then I did something most people told me I'd gone too far with, but I don't regret it for a second. I called Chelsea. She answered on the second ring, sounding confused. I was calm, ice-cold calm. I said, "Hi, Chelsea. This is David's wife. I wanted you to know that the $48,000 you've been receiving from my family, that ends today. I've filed a police report for fraud and theft. You can either return the money voluntarily or you can explain to a judge why you accepted stolen funds for 2 years. You have 72 hours to decide." She started crying, saying she didn't know that Patricia said it was David's money, that she never meant to. I hung up. I didn't care about her excuses. 24 hours later, $30,000 appeared in my personal account with a transaction note. Repayment. Not all of it, but enough to prove she knew exactly what she'd been taking. When David came home that evening, I'd already moved his belongings to his mother's house. The locks were changed. Divorce papers were on the kitchen counter next to printouts of every fraudulent transfer, highlighted in yellow. He stood there staring and tried to tell me I was overreacting, that Chelsea needed help, that I was being cruel. I looked at the man I'd built a life with and didn't recognize him anymore. I said, "You stole from your pregnant wife to fund your ex-girlfriend's lifestyle, and your mother helped you do it. I'm not being cruel. I'm being smart. Get out of my house." Patricia tried to call me 67 times that week. 67. She left voicemails sobbing, saying I was destroying the family, that I was keeping her grandchild from her. My lawyer sent a cease and desist letter. The police investigation is ongoing. Patricia might face charges. David's reputation at the hospital has taken a hit. Turns out, people don't love working with someone who commits financial fraud. I'm 8 months pregnant now. I bought a beautiful house in my name, only with money I'd hidden in a private account my sister helped me open. Chelsea paid back another $10,000 after her lawyer presumably told her she was screwed. I'll never see all of it, but I got enough. David signed the divorce papers without contesting. He had no choice. The evidence was overwhelming. My daughter is due in 3 weeks. She'll never know her father or grandmother as anything but cautionary tales. And maybe that makes me sound bitter, but I don't care. I protected her before she was even born. I taught her that you don't let people steal from you just because they're family. That trust, once broken like this, doesn't get repaired. Some nights I still get angry. Angry that I ignored my instincts for so long. Angry that I wanted so badly to believe in them that I made myself small and quiet and compliant. But mostly, I'm proud. I'm proud I didn't stay. I'm proud I fought back. I'm proud my daughter will grow up watching her mother refuse to be anyone's doormat. If this story resonated with you, subscribe. I share a new story every single week. And drop a comment below if you've ever been betrayed by someone you completely trusted. You are not alone, and you will get through this.